Hey everyone, it's Humphrey here at Breaking the Mold. Wanted to talk a little bit today about the transformation from a snaffle to a curb bit. A curb bit is a shank bridle. It can be a snaffle or it can be some sort of a correction mouthpiece. But that the curb chain plays a very important part in this because it applies pressure to a foreign part of the horse's face, which we don't address when we have an O-ring on them. Because in my opinion, I think that the O-rings serve a purpose when the horse is getting broken, getting started, but sooner or later those horses are going to start pushing and leaning on that O-ring. So it's very important when they go to do that, or even before they go to do that, to get them backed off your hand a little bit. And so the curb bridle really helps with that. I have a story I'd like to share. Years ago when I was riding under the working cow horse discipline, I had a string of 2-year-olds, and one morning I went into work and they handed me this bridle. It was a shank snaffle with a curb chain, and they go, "We want you to ride all the 2-year-olds with this bridle today." And I kind of took a step back and I thought, wow, because I had been riding everything in an O-ring. And so they said, "But you have to do it exactly like we tell you to do it. When you put it on, don't touch their face at all. Just let them carry it around the first day and let them get the feel of it." So I did that, and they said each day add a little bit more pressure through your hands. So I did that for 3 days, and then the 4th day they go, "Now go back to your O-ring." And it was amazing the softness I had in those colts after the 3 days of just applying a little bit of different pressure at different pressure points. So what I want to do today is I have a 3-year-old that I've only had like about 3 weeks, and I know where this horse was broke, and so I know he is broke. He does have a foundation, but I decided that he needs a little bit more softness. And so I'm going to introduce him to the shank curb bit today. It is my personal endorsed pH soft correction. I'm going to talk a little bit about that once we get out there.
Okay, so this is a 3-year-old. He's had quite a bit of riding. He was broke by a really good friend of mine, Lynn McNeil. He's there in Gainesville. Does a really good job, by the way. If you ever need a colt broke, you might want to check him out. The colt was there probably about 3 or 4 months, and so I know that this colt has a basic foundation to him, which is very important. So I've been riding him in the draw gag, which I showed you on the earlier video, and so we've applied the pH soft correction today. It's got a balanced shank. That's something I really like about this bridle. The curb chain is down in the curb of the horse's face, which is very important. A lot of times when the curb chain's up high on the jaw, you get a totally different communication through your hands and down to the horse's face. You'll also see when I add pressure to this, I have a bottom to my shank and to my bit. Like if I take a hold of my bridle, my shank doesn't come all the way back to the jaw. So that's very important. There is a bottom. So therefore, it's going to give him a whole lot more structured feel when I add pressure. Something that I do, just as a safety method, when I go to put a different bridle on a horse, what I'll do is I'll take my rein and I'll loop it over my saddle horn. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the pressure of both reins and I'm going to back my horse up. I want him to feel that bridle. See how he's kind of saying, "Ooh, what is this on my face?" So then it's kind of like I want to get him used to that. Something else I'll do on the ground before I get on is I'm going to take my inside rein and I'm going to pull my horse's head in just a little bit. All I'm wanting him to do is just look toward me. And if I just hold my pressure long enough, he will. And then I'm going to say, "Hey, that's exactly what I wanted." It's, when you put more bridle on a young horse, a lot of times you'll get a panic mode going on, and you don't want to get that. The last thing you want is to scare your horse with your hands. And so we want those horses to respect our hands. When we add pressure, we want everything to be soft. Okay, so now I've gotten on the horse. I've allowed him to see kind of what's in his face there. Didn't seem to bother him too much. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to spread my hands out, and I'm just going to kind of ask him to back up. Now I'm just going to add pressure. When he drops his nose, I'm going to let it go. Because I want him to know when I pick up the pressure, and if he'll give, then he gets a release. And so I'm just going to kind of do that a few times just to let him know kind of what we have on the face. And as you see, he's starting to give already, but the thing of it is, and the thing to remember, it's not the bit that's making him give. It's the the preparation and the basic training that he's had before you put the bit on that has actually taught him how to give to pressure. It's just that curb chain now is adding a little bit different pressure in a different spot, and so he's going, what is that? What is that? So I kind of want to walk around a little bit and let him just get the feel of that, because a lot of times they'll try to get away from it. They might try to put their head way down, which is not what we want. So I don't put a lot of pressure. I'm just kind of here, and just the weight of my hands being spread out, that really adds a lot more pressure than you think. Again, I'm just going to ask him to back up. This is pretty light pressure. That's not a lot, but he's really giving. He's really softening up. Because like I said, the last thing I want to do is scare him with my hand pressure. So I'm going to add a little trot here. Just doesn't really know what to think about it. But if you'll just kind of let him feel that out, then he's going to figure out, this is actually a whole lot easier to give than the O-ring. It's giving me a little bit of structure so I can actually understand what to do. I'll back him up a little bit. I always test both sides. So we've gone to the right, and now we're going to go to the left. I always use that as a rule. Anything I do to the right, I'm going to turn around and do the same thing to the left. Actually, he feels a little better to the left than he does to the right. It could be because maybe he got the feel of it going to the right, and then this feels a little bit more comfortable. So the main thing that we have to remember when we're doing this transformation is to make sure your horse understands how to give before you put this bridle on. And that's where that's where your O-ring comes into play. Add that pressure with the O-ring. Teach that horse to understand what pressure is with the O-ring. Then that way when you put a bridle like this on, your horse has a little bit of understanding of what that pressure is when you add pressure through your hands. And so it isn't the bit that's making him give a little bit better than he was given in the O-ring, but it is the pressure that I'm adding, and then the construction of the bit together is all making it a whole lot easier for him.